Comrades, I am Admiral Andre, and no, I haven't disappeared into the abyss, though it might seem that way. Things have been mad here on my side. I've been researching and writing like crazy, and it tells you something when it's just after 10 in the morning and I'm already exhausted. So, nevertheless, that in the time that I have had available, such as it was to play games, I've been playing Jurassic World Evolution. And I've also seen that everyone and their uncle have made YouTube series on this. But there's something that I think they haven't done before, at least I haven't found that. But you know, there's always the law of YouTube. If you can think of it, it's already been done. So that's also fine. So yes, I thought I might show you this as sort of a way of me getting at least something out there again. I haven't disappeared and I haven't given up on YouTube, so don't worry about that. Our Muertes station program is still continuing, and I'm still in the back of my mind thinking about the whole Real Politics series with the Ottoman resurgence. But at any rate, with Jurassic World Evolution, I've actually finished the whole campaign, all of the islands that you have available, all of the missions, all of them 5-star, and I have unlocked everything that I can, so I've earned those. I've started playing with Isla Nublar, which is of course the Sandbox, but then I thought, obviously there's a series like that already. The Lady Signer is actually doing that, and it's a very excellent one. But for the rest of them, most people are still working their way through the various islands and of course making YouTube series out of them. But at this point I've done that and I have the experience of the game, so I thought, why don't I go back to the islands? You know, we start with Isla Matanceros, of course, and get rid of everything that's there and start from scratch. So it's basically a sandbox / campaign, because we don't have to do missions, we don't have to do anything. We can just develop the islands with the benefit of hindsight, because you're still learning a lot of things when you start the game. So let me load this up here and I'll just show you what I've done already in terms of completing all the islands. Okay, so we are here now on, I think this is Isla Tacaño, but I just want to go back to the first one. I've got all of the settings here on Ultra and I haven't had a single problem, and of course the game looks stunning, so that's something I can certainly commend the developers Frontier for doing, because it works without a flaw, without any errors of any kind graphically so far. Anyway, let's go to the control room and I'll just take you to Isla Matanceros, but here you can see the whole thing. So obviously they won't show exactly 5 stars at the moment, except Isla Pena here, which is at the moment 5 stars, but you'll know that they fluctuate a lot throughout the game. But I've completed everything here, and the money has poured in here, so that's why I thought now is actually the opportunity to do the islands right, you know. So let's go to Isla Matanceros and I'll just show you what is there at the moment. Right, so here we are back at Newbie Island, where you start the game. And I have to say, this is probably my worst looking park, because everything is a jumble of streets and electric power lines and buildings. As you can see here, there's no order to the place, there's no structure. So this is where I got this whole idea. Now I've got 60 million in the bank at the moment. We can let it run a bit longer, but I don't think we really need to. But as you can see, of course, the issue is with all of these islands, when you start them, they already have some infrastructure available, such as this starting pen here. And of course, therefore, you build your various structures and other enclosures around that. But now, of course, everything is unlocked and we can demolish everything. I suppose we can sell the dinosaurs that we have. I'll just imagine we're selling it or selling them to other parks of mine. But then we have a clean slate here and we can do whatever we like, and that's of course a fun thing. So it's a sandbox, but it's the campaign island, so that's a another way of looking at it, I suppose. Now, I don't need to do any of the contracts here, but if a contract comes up that looks interesting, I will do that. But it's basically now just keeping them from sabotaging any of my operations. And of course, at the moment, the risks here are low, and you can see all of the unlocks were completed already. So I haven't maxed out any of the reputations yet, and I know there's a Steam achievement for doing that, so I might try that at some point. But this is just again an overview of what's here already. Now, I think I'm going to remove all of this off camera so you don't have to sit through that. I just want to see how this goes. We'll try the first island with this whole strategy of mine, and if it doesn't work out well, then, well, that's that. There's many other series and YouTubers available as well. But if it works out and people seem to like it, I can't, of course, promise to do this regularly. I have many other commitments at the moment, but I'll do it as I can. Now, there's just another feeder needing some attention here. Of course, there's no point of leaving that. I might as well look at it while we're here. So let's just go and have a look at the Hammond Creation Lab. You'll see all the genomes are unlocked at 100%. That took a long time, but it's definitely worth it. There's many of these dinosaurs that I have not created or incubated yet, so I was thinking about approaching this project in a holistic kind of a fashion. Again, I sort of refer to the lady designer, very famous series that she's doing at the moment of Isla Nublar, where she's trying to put all of the dinosaurs onto that one island. And I was thinking to myself, since we now basically have a sandbox for all the islands, and there's 6 now, including Isla Nublar, we can approach them holistically as a system of parks, basically. Because each one is not a self-contained unit, so there's no reason for me to have all of the dinosaurs on one island. So we're going to spread the 48 species over the 6 islands. Of course, that gives you 8 species per island. That also prevents us from overcrowding the whole place, and as you might know if you've played this, the more dinosaurs you have on the island, the more insane it becomes to manage, because you have constant feeder refills that you have to take care of, diseases. Of course, the dinosaurs will die in waves, and then you have to repopulate, and it gets a bit mad. So I'm thinking that's why it's better to spread them over all of the islands. Now, of course, I have to approach this systematically, and I'll show you what I have in mind there in a moment. Let's just refill that. So anyway, that's a lot of talk now. I think I'm going to end this here, and I'll see you back out of the game in just 1 second, and then we can begin planning this whole thing. So see you in 1 moment, comrades. It's again like the Kerbal thing. We look at the game, and then we step out and we look at Google and whatnot, and then we plan our approach. That's how I operate. Right, comrades, so this is of course just a very simple screenshot that I took of the island as it is now. You can see I adopted this approach of incubating all the dinosaurs in one location and then moving them to the various enclosures, but later on I decided this is way too tedious, and I'll rather have a Hammond Creation Lab attached to every enclosure, which I think is better just for simplicity and not to drive me insane with ferrying dinosaurs all over the place. So that's one of the lessons that I've learned. Now, the reason I have this here is because I want to use this to plan the design of this first island. So, if you are familiar with this island, Isla Matanceros, or you have seen other Let's Plays of that, you'll know that this island is a very easy one because we don't really have devastating storms here. So, I was thinking about using this theme of having it as a beginner island and basically having only herbivores here. So this is the kind of island that you will go to if you have a family and small children and you want to introduce them to the dinosaurs. Then that's sort of the theme. I want every island to have a theme, and of course the 8 species that it will not share with the other islands. So those 8 species will only be on one island, and that's also a good reason for people to visit each of the 6 islands. Now, in that sense, I have taken more screenshots and stitched them together here of all of the various genomes, and I have also made notes. This was just in Paint, so nothing fancy. Just made notes about the various sort of categories of dinosaurs that we have. So we have, what is that now? Let me count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 carnivores, and then of course the rest of the 48 are herbivores. Now, of course, these classes of smaller or medium carnivores and larger carnivores are also important, because you can't house the large ones together, but you can sort of get away with housing some of the smaller ones together with the large ones. So that's why I sort of separated it there. But otherwise, of course, we have the large sauropods, the brachiosaurs and the Camarasaurus and all of that. Then we have the ankylosaurians. I know there's names for these various dinosaur families, but this is just for myself. So all of the armored ones like the Crichtonsaurus and Polycanthus and so on. Then the Stegosaurians, and you get the mediums. I just called them the mediums. That's like the Matabarosaurus and the Edmontonsaurus and so on, or Edmontosaurus. Some of the pronunciations are still getting the better of me. Then you have the smalls, the Gallimimus, the Struthiomimus, and the Archaeornithomimus, and the trikes, and of course the pachyes, the ones with the domes on the head for headbutting. Now, I was thinking, because the whole idea here is that this is a very placid island for families and children, then we should have all of the smalls on them. So that's already 3 of the 8 species for this island. We could possibly also have all of the pachyes, or we can make a mix of them. This is, of course, open. You can do whatever you like here, so there's no real guide in this sense. I was thinking of possibly looking at the various dinosaurs by age. So those from the Jurassic or the what are the other ages? The Triassic and whatnot, you know, Cretaceous, and all of these dinosaurs are not all just from the Jurassic period, so maybe we should have a theme like that by age. But I think that's too tedious. It shouldn't be that formulaic. We'll just do whatever we like here. Now, coming back to this image here, I was thinking, now I'm just going to have to open this in Paint. Very embarrassing, but that's fine. I don't need anything fancy here. Let's just have a look at this thing. I'm going to plan this out. That's the thing that's missing with the approach on Isla Matanceros, I think, for most people, because you just build on what you have already when you start. So let me take a paintbrush. This is not going to be, as I said, anything fancy. Let's just make sure I highlight. That's a terrible job. Good grief, I can do better than that. I built a fence all along the outer perimeter here. I might do the same again. We'll see, but I just want to highlight for myself. This is the outline here. So everything has to be planned in relation to that. And very importantly, there's a hill or mountain right there. So that part of the area is not available for us. Now, the entrance is right there. So I was thinking, let's analyze the structure of the various islands or the available areas, and then build in accordance with what we have, instead of like this, where it's a complete crazy mayhem of puzzle pieces fitting in together, and you sort of squeeze everything in here. That's also why, with having 8 species per island, what I'm going for is to not try and force them all into the smallest possible spaces. And that's, of course, something that you run into if you try and get them all onto one island. So, for example, here, these are Ceratosauruses. or saurians or saurii. I still don't know what the plural is. But you can see this is a very small pen. I want to avoid this kind of situation. It has to be more with a kind of Jurassic Park, and I guess in some sense also the Jurassic World themes, where you have these large open areas, and that's of course where we can use the gyrospheres. So no small enclosures like that. Now if we just have a look at this, just grab the round tool there. We of course have this little back area here. I think that has to be for utilities, because again here you can see I have power plants there and there as well, and of course there's another one there. So they're all over the place. There's no distinction between guest areas and park areas or sort of maintenance areas or utility buildings or anything like that. It's just a jumble. So we'll say this back area is going to be the utility area. So that's of course again the benefit of approaching this with hindsight. So now that leaves us a few areas. So of course we start here. This is a possible area for an enclosure. Of course up here, down here as well, and maybe one there. So that's 4 enclosures. I think we could probably get away with another one right here, but I don't want to put one right by the entrance. So I think this gives us then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now that's supposed to be yellow back there, but anyway, doesn't matter. This is not for the prettiness of it. This is just to help us with the planning. So now this one is yellow as well. My skills here are not that great, but that's fine. There we go. So then what I'd like to do is I would like to get, let's just take grey for the roads, just have basically a road curve in there, and then this area in the middle is where we're going to have this sort of town, you know, the various shops and all of that. Around this we might also put some hotels right there next to this mountain area, so they sort of look over the whole park. I think that would be a nice idea, so I'll try to raise the elevation of this area. Then another small shopping area right there, and then of course a main road and also a monorail going right from the entrance through to there. But that's it. I don't want to overcomplicate it. So I think that's a nice design because it keeps everything together. So hopefully we won't have to put too many shops and toy shops and restaurants all over the place. I want to try and keep it relatively centralized, and I think that's more how a real theme park would be anyway, like the Jurassic World that we see in the movies, or at least the one where it didn't blow up. So I think let's have a look. Now of course we have the utility area back there, so maybe we could have like an access road going around the back of all of the pens here, or enclosures, right to there, and similarly back there. And that's also where we'll have the gates. And then, of course, the various jeeps and all that, they won't care about this. They'll just take the shortest route, but this is purely for the design aesthetics of it. At least it gives the impression that there's an access road in the back, so not in the various tourist areas. We don't want them being killed there by our own vehicles, not that it happens, of course. Then galleries and viewing areas can basically come off of the central area, so that gives us the 3 main parts. And then we have this area, so it will join there and there. Now we just have to think, what do we want to put on this island? Also, what happens with this open area on the bottom here? I was thinking possibly to put like a lake here, and then have like a river going through here and possibly even all the way up to the top there. Now of course that means no electric fences, because even though you can do it in the game, you can put electric fences over water. Obviously in real life you would not want to do that, so we're not going to do that. So this is anyway herbivores, so I think that's fine. And we can have like a river going through here, so it gives like a bigger structure to the map, I think. So I guess that's the broad outline. There's nothing much more to say here. I don't want anything here at the entrance other than, of course, the monorail and the main wide path. And then, of course, on the outside, the various smaller roads. And then, of course, here we're going to hide all of the utilities. Now, of course, I do want the Hammond Creation Labs attached, so we'll probably put them there out of sight of the visitor areas. We could have one here that's shared between these two, possibly even one up here shared between those two. So I'm going to save this, comrades, and then as we build this thing, I'm going to refer back to this. But let's just have a look at the list of dinosaurs again. So Gallimimus, Struthiomimus, and Archaeornithomimus, they can all inhabit one pen together. Actually, we could get away with more than 8 species on this island, but I think we'll try and specialize. I think it's better that way. So they could possibly go into this pen right here. So right next to the visitor area and the hotels and all of that, can look over that. What else do we want? We could, of course, put other herbivores in with them, but I don't think it's necessary. So let's have a look. What about the packies? I think that could be a good idea. Possibly having them share one of the enclosures. So that actually takes us up to 6 species now. Triceratops, then we still have 3. Possibly one of the large sauropods. Diplodocus is basically one of the smaller ones, so I think we might actually try and put them in. Maybe we should spread it out a bit more. So one of the large herbivores, one of the mediums, all 3 of the small ones, I think, and possibly one of the Triceratopsians. Something like that makes it interesting for the visitors, but no dangerous creatures, not on this island. We'll save that for the later ones. So with that said, comrades, I'm looking forward to this. It's an interesting experiment. Of course, I wish I could just keep doing this the whole time, but once in a while, that's probably the best I can do. So now let me just go and clean this island. I'm going to remove all of the structures, all of the animals. Of course, I don't like to do unethical things, even though it's a video game. I don't like animal fights and all of that. But also not, of course, selling them to unscrupulous buyers. But I unfortunately have to do that unless I want to wait for them all to die. But again, we'll imagine I'm selling all the dinosaurs to the other parks. But yes, with that said, I'm a massive fan of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and that whole universe, and I have been since I was a child when the original movie came out. So this game has really unlocked that love of dinosaurs again for me. So let's see what we can do, comrades. I'm not the best designer, but I'll give it a go. Actually, I might do some of this on camera, or I could even speed it up. But in any case, I just need to find the ACU center. What do I have here? Accuracy and scheduling. I think, let me just for simplicity's sake put the best accuracy and reload speed on and use scheduling on all the other slots. That's my preferred method now, just so we can do this a bit quicker. So I'll speak to you again soon, comrades. Right, comrades, after a tremendous amount of demolition here, Isla Matanceros is now closed for renovation and is a blank slate again. Oh, there's a bit of road that escaped Armageddon. So there's the arrival point. The park is closed here officially now. We might still see people wandering around completely dumbfounded about what just happened here. But that's it. So the park is now a blank slate. I'm not sure if I want to put fences around the outer perimeter of the park again. Maybe I do. Just because it sort of has this theme, you know. If you're going to have a park, surely you want it a bit isolated from the rest of the island and whatever creatures might inhabit it. But also because you want to keep people from straying into the wilderness, and also in case a dinosaur escapes, you don't want them running off into the mountains where you'll never see them again. So there has to be some kind of fencing around the park. I mean, I think that just makes sense. We'll see. Anyway, Now it's raining here, so we have $77 million with 0 expenses and 0 income, so we have a lot to play with. Now I think the first thing I want to do is to remove all of the trees, just because I need to see the whole thing here, the whole story, as far as possible. Maybe this is a dumb idea, this is going to take forever. Maybe this is a very dumb idea, at least around the outside I would say. I'm also in two minds as to whether I should flatten the whole map and then build hills and undulations in the terrain. I'm not sure. Just because no park will really have a perfectly flat terrain. I mean, this is not how the world works. You have certain elevation changes and you might smooth them. So maybe I should rather just smooth them out instead of completely flattening everything. This is going to take way too long. I don't think we should do this everywhere, at least. Okay, let's rather remove all of the water. That's the easiest thing to do. All of the water features, just clear the whole map. Those people don't know what's going on, but I guess they're heading back to the entrance now, just to await the new opening of the park. So is that everything? I think so. So we also see a very clear increase in the elevation towards the back here, so I wouldn't want to flatten everything, then it's going to look very weird, so we want to work with it. Okay, so that does that. There's a little bit of water left. Oh no, no contracts at the moment. We're not open for business yet. Throngs of people all over the place. Well, hopefully they'll come back again. So, yes, comrades, now what did we say here? This is going to be our utility area in the back. Now, obviously we'll have to have a road connecting it to the entrance. So now we're going to be building this holistically, so that's the thing. There's no point in doing it bit by bit. We have to open the park all at once. So I think let's smooth a little bit, just see what we can do. Take off the worst of the rough edges and see what we can do then. Of course, this is all going to take an awfully long time, but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly smoothed here. Just the general outlines, especially the places where the buildings used to be. Just so it looks a little bit more natural. I had to turn off, obviously, to avoid complications, any of the licensed music. There's actually a button for that under the settings, so they do make it easy. So yes, no theme music here, unfortunately. Okay, I think that does it more or less. So we see a very clear hill here. Actually, that's pretty close to where the center of the village will be. So I want like a lake area right here. And let's just plan this thing out. If I go back to our map view. So this is why that planning was useful earlier. So I think right here where those trees are, that's going to be the center of the island's attractions, or at least the not the residential area, the visiting area. So let's pay particular attention to just smooth this. Of course, we have lots and lots of money, but it's not technically a sandbox. I know you can revert or reset the various islands, but when you try, they say you'll lose all of your progress for that island, and I am not doing all those missions again. So that's that. Now I'm just thinking, so if we put hotels here, let's have a look at this. Around this sort of hill area, I guess those are mountains, these are hills. That might be a nice thing, because then that's sort of you have your back to the mountain and you can look over the rest of the park. Let's raise this bit of terrain, not too much, just a bit like that, and then I'm going to say flatten that. So of course we can't change the terrain beyond the limit there, so I don't want it to look too weird. Just sort of a shelf almost. We'll smooth it out a little bit more. Okay, so should we have a fence here? I don't think so, because this is internal to the park. This is not the outer perimeter fence, so there's not going to be a fence here. So let me place down some of the hotels. I don't know how many we'll need. That's a difficult thing to judge. I'd say 3 at the very least. Now, have I flattened this out enough? Probably not. Of course, again, we can only get so close to the outer edge. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that's enough. So now, let's see again. I want one on the side like that. Yes, the terrain constraints will prevent us from getting too close. But I want it to be generally lined up with the direction of the edge there. So that will work. So there's our very first building. Then another one right next to it. I'm not thinking we're going to get 3 in here. Again, they don't have to be crowded together too much. Has to have a bit of an organic flavor to it. So maybe like that. Yes. Good. So you can see a whole sweeping vista here. That's exactly what people want. So I think let's just level this area as well. Flatten it. Make sure this part can sustain another hotel. It's a bit of a slow process, but it's more of a relaxing playthrough, I guess. Most people are just trying to rush to get through the various missions so they can see all of the unlocks. So this is a totally different flavor, I guess, from most Let's Plays. Now, I think here, yes, so we have the 3 on the terrace. We'll even call this the terrace area. So the terrace hotels, they'll look over the various enclosures and all of that. Now, the actual downtown area, I know it's a bit formulaic, but I think it should be centered around the Innovation Center. Because, again, that's pretty much like the movie, and this is a very good hub for any park, especially because of all those road connections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can have it sort of as the center of a wheel with the various spokes going out to the sides. Now, I'm wondering if the scale is going to work now. Don't want it too close to the hotels. So the road is probably going to wind a little bit more than I planned. That's alright. We obviously have to accommodate the terrain here. Just get it a bit smoother and see if we can... no, I think the whole thing should probably be flattened to that same level. Just to make it easier. Even we could have a sort of a stepped village kind of a feel to it. That should be interesting. So I'm pretty much letting the terrain guide me here. Like a terrace there again. So if we have a look, that area is the center. So I actually have to move it a little bit back and just take care of those trees there. Yes, this is going to be a very nice experiment, I think. So let's just take the trees off. And probably have to flatten it a bit more. Oh, no. Bit more. Flatten tool is a bit slow. So I also think because this is kind of like the family park, we should have more of the sort of like arcades and toy shops and that sort of facility. So I know we don't have that many different types of shops, but at least that will sort of cater to the theme there. Now let's go back to the Innovation Center. So it's not going to be right by the entrance, and I want people to sort of have a bit of a walk through a forest before they get to the village. Now let's just have a look. That's going to sweep around like that. I think that's not bad. Let's just have a look. That's more or less where the center should be, and it's not too close to the hotels there. So I think that's a good one. Now the problem is always, where do we put the monorail stations? That's a big thing. They're a bit unwieldy, but very necessary, of course. So we can get away without them, but I still want people to give the park a good rating at the end of the day. So how are we going to do this now? The one idea I had, and I did this on Isla Nublar, is to put the monorail station basically in parallel with the other one, and then have the track go over the escalator there, but that's not necessary here. This is more of a linear kind of monorail system. Unfortunately, we've got some real terrain constraints here. Don't think smoothing is going to help too much. I think let's build the road first. That's, after all, the main guideline, and it will change with the terrain, so we don't have to worry about that. Now this definitely has to be a wide, fancy path, so we start out there straight, and I think we'll probably keep it straight for a little bit, and of course here as well. And then from there it will have to be curved, so that's also where the terrace will have its various steps. It's too straight, I feel. Let's just see what happens. So put it there. That's where the benefit is if you remove all the trees first, so you can actually see everything. Now is that straight? I guess no. It's difficult to say because of the terrain undulation there. No, this is not looking good. Let's just try it from this side then. So we know at least this part is straight. Okay, and then make a curve there at the end. Now again, that's not a perfect one, but we can come back to that. No, I don't want to do anything at the moment. So that's, I guess, the general path when you arrive. It's not quite as curved as I hoped, but that will work. So you still have a nice long road leading up to the innovation center there on the hill. Then, of course, the monorail now has to follow this, but without being too overwhelming. In some way there is going to be the other little village area, so let's just put a building there. Just a fossil zone. I don't care at the moment what it is, I just need it for a placeholder. It's not that far really. I wonder if we do need a monorail. It might still be best, you know, to increase accessibility and all that. But now, should it be on the right or the left side of the innovation center? Probably the right side. Then again, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things I'm not going to be sure about. But, I guess the first thing that I am sure about is I should probably start by just putting up the perimeter fence again. That's an easy thing to do. So let me do that and then I'll get back to you again. Okay, the perimeter fence is up on this side. I haven't gone all the way around yet. We don't need to. But I've made sure to ensure, well, that doesn't make sense. I have ensured that all of the curves are nice and smooth here. I don't want right angles on these exterior fences, so I just kept the curves there. Now, I haven't been super efficient here. There's little places where we could have obtained a bit more land area for us, but we're not going to be having a shortage of that, since we won't be crowding this park too much. Now at least this gives us the outer perimeter. Now this is just a light steel fence. It obviously has no practical value. It's just there to prevent small children from wandering off into the wilderness, never to be seen again, or dinosaurs, of course. They would have no problem breaking through that, but they have nowhere to go since the map ends there. Let's put up the monorail. Let's try anyway. Guests, monorail station. Now we can see exactly how much space we have available here. Now it's probably going to be making it difficult for me. Such a shame. I'd love to have it here right next to the entrance, but it's not that it's blocked by the fence, it's terrain constraints. What if I try smoothing it? Or flattening it? Just do the work for it. Now of course there's a little slope there that we can't do anything about. Come on, you don't have constraints anymore. It's just impossible. There's no point in putting it there somewhere, so I guess it has to be on this side. But I want it here. No, I want to keep messing around with this. Let's try flattening it from the higher ground. It's gonna look really weird now. Might as well try. No, come on. No, it's just absolutely impossible. But I don't want the road to curve right off the bat as soon as they get off the monorail there. Well, I guess it's gonna be the other side. Oh well. Now, I think it would actually be nice if we keep this elevation here. Because then the lake will be on this side. Again, has no practical value, but still. Actually, that looks too weird. No, we're gonna flatten it again. At least in the middle there where the path is. Until it gets just before the innovation center. So now I might as well do the same on this side. Okay, so we have no problems placing the monorail station. Again, as close as possible to the entrance. Now, getting things lined up perfectly with roads and all of that is not always easy, but you can see that is perfectly aligned there. You can use the snapping, but the snapping angles are not always the ones that you want. So let's put it right there. Perfect. So now you have a choice. You can walk or you can literally just turn right there and get back onto the monorail. So of course we can't connect it to the outside monorail, but that's also alright. And I guess it gives you a nice view of the lake when you're here, because obviously the monorail also counts as a viewing platform. Now, how are we going to handle this? We might as well keep the flattening going here. At least in this part. Although, yes, it's actually a good idea, because if we're going with a theme of a river going from up there, then obviously the terrain has to keep coming down. But then again, that's not a good idea, no, because you don't get actual rivers in the game, and if you have elevation changes, the river or the water will just keep following that same elevation, and then you'll get a bit of a weird effect there. So we're going to have to try and keep this all the same level, which is not too difficult. Just get it for guidance here. Now, why is this one not flattening? Oh. That means we're going to have to raise this whole area of the park. Maybe a river is not a good idea. I'm not sure. No, I want a river, for goodness sake, and I'll have one. So we're completely resculpting the terrain here, and any slopes on the outer edge I'll just hide with trees, because again we can only go so close to the edge of the map there. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tedious thing. I think I might actually do some of this off camera. Not sure. Now it's reverted this part again. So, comrades, how have you been? It's cold here now. It's winter, obviously, in the southern hemisphere, and yes, I'm feeling the effects of that. Can't say it's my favorite season. Not that it's absolutely freezing here, but I have to say it's getting quite close now. So we can have like an edge to the terrace there. That's going to be an edge to the village as well, so it looks over the encampments or enclosures there. Okay, that'll do for now. I'm not gonna be too fussy about this. Now I'm wondering if those perimeter fences are a good idea still. Anyway, let's put some water here. Let's do something. So this whole area is going to be a lake. So of course not a Mosasaurus enclosure. I'm sure those will be added to the game at some point. I have absolutely no doubt of that. And then of course we can retweak this stuff. But so there's the main lake. Now of course we want to keep going narrower as we go further away. We can't go too close to the edge there, but this is the general idea. We could even go relatively close to the path as well. That could work, since again we're not hurting for space. We will not be having too many enclosures here. Could even have a nice little island on there. Almost like a mangrove. Let me actually have a look here. Let's raise the terrain a little in the middle there. Flatten. Oh no, not too much. Let's not be too aggressive here. Okay, and of course that will be...
Let's not argue over the stuff.
Thank you. That will be covered in trees. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop at the water's edge. I still want people to be able to see that it's... Guests are complaining about the lack of eating places. There aren't even any guests. Good grief. I guess it's the park workers and the construction workers and all of that. Something like that. So we can actually see there's an island there. Let's just remove the trees in the lake here. This is going to be a long process, I think. That's why I'm just focusing on the one island for now, just to see if this idea even works. Oh, come on, I wanted to flatten it to what it was there. Okay, something like that, a large lake area, so we give the terrain actual features here. Now on this side we're not going to have any buildings or anything, so let's cover this with trees as much as possible. And again, I have no doubt that we'll be seeing various assets and things in the game quite soon, probably, because that's one of the highest requested features, so we can have more things to place here. That will also be very nice. So once you get off the monorail, you're getting this feeling immediately that you're in a tropical jungle here, and there's a large lake. Would be nice to have some boat rides and things on there as well, but at this point of course that's not possible. Let's just cover this. Parrot is of course very active in the background now again. It's usually the case. Okay, so like that, I think, mustn't look too constructed, must look a bit more natural, but you get the idea. So then of course now I guess we're going to have to build a road around the innovation center, pretty much. I guess that's going to be a standard thing. So let's do that now. I'm not going to get too much done in this video because of course I had all of the introduction and all of that as well. Let's just put a large road on the back, just as far as it will go. We probably, well, don't need a large road for this, but it might look nicer. There's a group of scientists wandering around there. Let's just level this thing as well. Just so the whole innovation center is on the same level. I really enjoy this game. Absolutely can recommend it. Anyway, so now, do we keep with the large paths, or how do we do this now in a way that it's symmetrical and actually looking nice? Let's try that. Or do we move it a bit further away? Let's try that one. Do this, come on, do the same thing on the other side, just snap to there. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, follow that straight line there, right to the edge. It's not going to be a circle, obviously, because the innovation center is not a circle, it's an oval-ish. So we'll be contouring to that. I don't want it curving back into it. Maybe we should make this one a bit longer. Like that. There we go. Much better. Now that should be perfectly balanced there. Of course it would be nice now to fit various props here, but I guess the best we can do is some shrubs and grass there. Nothing we can do here. I guess that just lays the foundation basically, because from there we are now going to expand to the various enclosures. But comrades, I think I'm going to end it here. It's been a long wind up to this point, so we're going to take it further in the next episode. I also want to get your ideas. I think that's why it's also a good idea not to overdo the first episode and first get some of your feedback. What do you think we should focus this island on? Do you agree with me that we should, because it's the newbie island basically, keep it for more sedate attractions? And which of the dinosaurs would you like to see here? So remember, of course, we have 8 species that we're going to dedicate to this island. I think that will be more than enough to get the 5 stars. They'll probably say it's okay variety, it's not a great variety, but of course our modifications will increase their attractiveness. But anyway, we'll see how this goes, comrades. Do let me know what you think about that, and what we can do with this island. So see you next time, comrades. Hopefully not very long from now. I'll do my absolute best. So see you soon, comrades. Have a fantastic day.